We are on lesson 56. For this video, we will work on questions letter A all the way to D. But before you start working, maybe you could observe first the types of questions so that you can see, the differences between them among all the four questions. So look at letter A. So for letter A, you can see that there's only one. All of that is just one fraction. Okay, so if it gives you one fraction, that basically gives you an idea that, oh, I probably just need to factor the numerator and the denominator and see if there's something that will get factored out, right? Because there's only one fraction. Number two is a multiplication. So that means this 3x, that's a whole number, it doesn't have a denominator. You probably need to rewrite this and put an over 1, okay? The next one is an addition. And when you add or subtract, just like letter D, you need to make sure that their denominators are the same. So therefore, you need to factor them out. So all of this is some sort of factoring thing. And then you kind of need to cancel them at some point. Okay, so let's start with letter A. Okay, so I'm going to write that 3x minus 9 over negative 12x plus 36. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the numerators. I'm gonna find, is there something I can factor out between 3x and 9 or negative 9? So you can factor out 3. All right, so is there anything else that you can factor out between 3x and 9? Well, there's nothing else, so that's when you start your parentheses. So now you kind of need to ask yourself, what is 3x? This 3x right here divided by this 3 right there. So you will have x. Next, what is 3 negative what negative 9 divided by 3? That will be negative 3. Okay, so that's what you have there. Now you do the same thing for the denominator. Well, you have negative 12x plus 36. Since that negative 12x is the one with x and it's negative, so you probably want to factor out the negative 12. Okay, and so negative 12x divided by negative 12, that will give you an x. Next one is 36 divided by negative 12. That will give you a negative 3. Now, if you look at this one, the numerator and the denominator both now have two factors. Now, are they common factors? Yes, they are, right? So you can cancel out this parenthesis x minus 3 and x minus 3. That's one of the common factors. So now you will be left with 3 over negative 12. Is this already simplified? This is not yet because you can still divide them both by 3, okay? What that means is that 3 can be factored out as 3 times 1, and the negative 12 can be factored out as 3 times negative 4. So that means you can cancel out the 3 here. You will be left with 1 over negative 4. So this in itself is already correct answer. Normally, though, we put the negative in front. Okay, so that's the final answer for letter A. All right, so let's move on to letter B. So this is best if, so now I have shown you how to answer it, and see if you can pause the video and answer the question on your own again. See if you can do it by yourself. Okay. All right, so number two is a multiplication, and we know that 3x does not have a denominator, so you should just write the denominator yourself. You put over 1 times 1 over 6x. So when you are multiplying, that means you kind of need to factor out the numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So 3x can be factored out as 3 times x, oops, and then 1 is just 1, times 1 over 6 can be factored out as 2 times 3 times x. So remember, when you are multiplying, this is the rule for cancellation, okay? Oops, that's not what I meant to write. So you have a multiplication. You have uh, you have basically fractions on both sides, right? So you can cancel out this way. So this one, this two, you can cancel. You can cancel out this way. This two, you can cancel. You can also cancel like this way, and then that way. So this is how you cancel. So let's try that. 3x and 1, there's nothing. 1 and 2, 3x, there's nothing. But this side right here, you can cancel out this 3 and that 3 right there, right? You can also cancel the x and the x. So therefore, what's left? So in here, there's nothing in here, so it's just 1 times 1, that's going to be 1, over 1 times 2, that's going to be 2. Okay? All right, so let's try number 3. So number 3 is an addition. So you have 3x over 2x minus 8 plus x over x minus 4. So again, another factoring. So you prepare your 2 bars. Okay, so what we're going to do is we will factor the numerators and denominators, but the numerator and denominator are simple enough, so we will keep them at that point. The denominator though, so 2x minus 8, you can factor out 2, and there's nothing else in there, so you will do 2x divided by that 2, you will have x, negative 8 divided by that 2, you have negative 4. And then in the second denominator is just x minus 4. There's no factor in there, so you just copy that. X minus 4, I put it in parentheses. Then I'm going to copy the numerators. So you have 3x here and you have x here. So now that you have fully factored them, the next part is to find their, the dots, the common factor. So like 2 here is 1 dot. Well, there's no other 2, so that's by itself. X minus 4 is a new factor, so this is going to be 2 dot. Well, this is x minus 4, this also goes as 2 dots, okay? So now, we're going to copy the bars again and get all the common factors. All the 1 dots, that's 2. All the 2 dots, you can write it as 1. Okay, and there's no more dots, so that's it. So therefore, you need to just copy that on the second one. Okay, and then next I'm gonna copy the numerators. So I have 3x here and yes, x here. And then we will circle out the one that's similar to the top. So this one right here is exactly the same. So therefore, this is exactly the same as that. Next, x over x minus 4. So this is what that is. So you have that extra 2. That means the numerator needs to be multiplied by 2 as well. Okay, then now we will simplify or multiply out. So you have 3x over 2x minus 4 plus 2 times x is 2x, 2x minus 4. Okay, and if you notice now, their denominators are exactly the same. So that means you can now add them. When I say add, you just add the numerators and then keep the denominator. So you have 5x there over 2x minus 4. Now, this is a better answer, I would say. Okay, so this is an answer itself, but if you look at letter C, you don't see that. So what that means is that none of the denominators are factored. So that means you probably need to multiply this one out to get to the answer that's like in your multiple choice. So you have 5x and then 2x minus 8 because you multiply them out. And then you can see that answer. All right, so let's do subtraction, which is similar to addition. Okay, so we will do letter D now. The only difference with the subtraction, of course, is the subtraction part, and you kind of need to be careful with this subtraction part because everything after it gets multiplied by that negative one. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. Okay, so you have I'm gonna just copy this one first. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is, even though the problem looks like this, if you look at the numerator, they are binomials. You have two terms, right? So maybe it's best to just put them inside the parentheses for now. Okay, and if your denominators are also binomial, that you should also put them inside the parentheses. Okay. All right, so just like in addition, we want to factor out the denominators, right? Okay, so 5x, that's 5 times x, and then 15x is 3 times 5 times x. And I'm just gonna copy the numerator, 4x minus 1, and then, and this is actually not a plus. Okay, that should be not a plus. This is a minus 2x plus 2. Okay. All right. Next is we want to mark the common factors. So 5, 5, x, 2 dots, x, 2 dots, and then 3, 3 dots. Okay. So now I'm going to prepare my bars again. Minus, minus. I'm going to do all the numbers first. I'm going to do the 5, okay, times the 3 times the x. So 5 and then the 3 and then the x's. Okay, I just want all the numbers in front, and there's no more other factors, so I'm gonna just copy that. 5 times 3 times x. Okay, so now I'm gonna copy the numerators, which is in parentheses still. 4x minus 1, and then 2x plus 2 in parentheses. Okay, I'm gonna circle now which one is the same. So on the top one, this 5 in x, so 5, 4 plus x, and then x, but not the 3, right? That's the same as the one on top. So that means I need to multiply the top here by 3. 5 in x only at the bottom, but now I have a 3, so therefore I need to multiply the top by 3. Now, the second one, they're exactly the same, so you don't have to multiply anything. It's exactly the same. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we will simplify this. So you have 3 times that parentheses. That means you have to distribute that 3 over there. So that you will have 12x minus 1, still in minus 3, I mean, still in parentheses, over 5 times 3 times x, minus, it's still in parentheses, 2x plus 2 over 5 times 3 times x. Okay, so now I can combine them because they have the same denominator, but still in parentheses, 12x minus 3 in parentheses minus 2x plus 2 still in parentheses all over 5 times 3 times x. Okay, now why am I insisting on parentheses? Well, because this parentheses right here is in front of the negative. So that means there is that -1 lurking around. So when you get rid of the parentheses, that means the -1 needs to be multiplied here. So all the signs will change. Okay, so your denominator is still 5 times 3 times x. In the first parentheses, the number in front is not a negative, it's a positive. So that means positive 1 is getting multiplied to that. So let's do that. So you have 12x minus 3. But then the second one will be -1 times 2x. So you will have -2x, not minus -2x, just -1 times 2x is -2x. And then -1 times positive 2 is -2. Okay, so now that we don't have the parentheses, we can combine like terms. So this and that are like terms, so that will become 10x, -3 and -2, that will become 5x. I mean -5. All over 5 times 3 times x. Now this looks like it would have been done, but if you look at the numerator, 10x and -5, you can still factor out 5, right? Because 10 and 5, they have a common factor. So if, let's factor out the 5. 10x divided by 5 will be 2x minus 1, right? Because 5 divided by 5 over 5 times 3 times x. And so you can see that 5 can be canceled out some more. So therefore your final answer is 2x minus 1 over 3x. Okay, so I'm gonna do the next few problems on a different video, so it's not doesn't sound so long.